Welcome back. Well, you're still talking a little high school hoops, and Stephen Decatur was looking to stay atop the Bayside South when they traveled to take on Washington earlier this week. And the Seahawks would come out strong early on. The nice look down low by Torrey Brittingham over to Kaveh Aluma, and the big fella, the strong finish. He had a huge game, 2 of his points right there. The Seahawks had a 9-point lead just before half. Jordan Sterling, though, going to change that. Comes up the steal in midcourt, glides in the other way, and beats the buzzer right there. He has a way of doing that, it seems like, all the time. Third quarter now, Washington still pushing the 3-ball by Cameron Sommers. Would actually get the Jags a 2-point lead. Headed to the fourth, they had the champs on the ropes, but the Seahawks would respond. The point guard, the hesitation move, gets in the paint, the fancy reverse layup to go. A few plays later, he goes back to the big fella Aluma, the huge drop step, two-handed flush, and they get a gut check win, 61-49 the final. As for Polytech, they were at home squaring off against Woodbridge, and the Panthers looking good early on. Chase Chappell finds Jaden Dungy, and he's spotting up and hitting from long range right there. Shortly after that, Josh Smith going to work on the block, collects the offensive rebound, the putback, plus the foul. But back come the Blue Raiders. Khalil Leatherwood, check us out, almost loses the ball, somehow sticks with it, and that ends up being a good layup in transition, I guess. Polytech still fighting right back, though. Dungy finds Smith. That worked before. It works again, another and one right there. But Woodbridge would end up pulling away. Blaze Rayford kicks it over to Jamie Ross, and he's hitting the jumper right there. The Blue Raiders get the win, 74-48 the final. And as for Caesar Rodney, they were taking on St. Mark's. The Riders hanging tough early on. Jordan Reynolds pulls up on the baseline, and he finds the bottom of the net. Shortly after that, Joseph Williams finds Devon Robinson, and he connects on his mid-range jumper. Now, they were up early and still push it as they get out in transition this time. It's Isaiah Washington over Jaquan Hooks. He glides in, goes off the glass for 2 points. But the Spartans would settle down, and then they would start to take over. Zach Palmer is going to hit a 3 from the left wing. Shortly after that, Billy Sullivan bangs one home from the left corner. Caesar Rodney ends up dropping a tough one, 47-43 the final over there. So now that we got you caught up on all these scores and all our teams are doing, it's time to get you a little motivational segment, our Power Polls. Trey, take it away.
Thanks, Spencer. I'm going to break the news right now. We have some changes in these rankings. Starting right at the top, for the first time, Snow Hill is going to enter my power rankings. I love that big 3 they have of Amir Fisher, Takai Wise, and Almonte Allen. They pushed Decatur to the limit this week. They didn't win, but they still get rewarded on my power rankings. Number 4, I got to go with Cambridge. Parkside still stays at 3, Pocomoke at 2, and Decatur surviving the storm at Washington. So now 4 Bayside South teams in my power rankings, and kicking it over to Delaware. It's going to stay the same. Number 5, Woodbridge. They beat up on Polytech, as we just saw, as they should have. Last year would have been a totally different story, but this is not last year. Milford comes in at number 3. I just cannot elevate them above these Henlope and North teams. Cape, Smyrna, and Dover. Smyrna wanted so badly to get to these number 1 rankings. They actually pushed Dover to the limits to try to take them there. I don't know, Spencer. I thought this list would be changed a little bit more with a Smyrna win, but I guess it's not so. Back to you.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're starting to get to that point where you're waiting for someone and they're pushing the limits, but it's not quite happened just yet. In Maryland, I still got Decatur at 1, but they have a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover ever since they beat Pocomoke. And if they keep this up, Pocomoke's going to hop them again. I got Pocomoke at 2, Cambridge sitting at 3 with Parkside at 4. And I still have Queen Anne's there at 5. I get the argument right now for Snow Hill. I just don't like rewarding teams if they can't pull it out, and they should have beat Stephen Decatur, and they would have been in my list. Over in Delaware, I have Dover at 1, Cape still at 2, and Smyrna sitting at 3. I have them just a little bit behind Cape. I know you still have them at number 2, but I like what Cape has in their bigs right now. I have 2 teams in the South still, Milford in at 4, and I have Woodbridge still sitting in there at number 5. But it's time for another quick commercial break. Coming up next, we're going to take things over to the campus where UMES squared off against the MEAC's best today in Hampton. We'll have those highlights. Keep it right here.
I'm Grace Tunis, and I'm from WPS Basketball, and this is Delmarva Sports Insider.